Welcome to Master the Game. I am Juce, and today we're talking ghosts. So let's get started. Make sure you head on over to rpgjuice.com, where you can get caught up on the latest videos, the latest news, and blog posts from Juce himself. Recently, I watched the show Haunting of Hill House, I believe is what it's called. Fantastic show. It's on Netflix. If you like scary movies, go watch it. But this show just started making me think, man, I should use more ghosts and things in my games. And was looking at the Monster Manual, which I have right here. And the ghost in the Monster Manual is pretty potent. So it is a challenge 4, a CR of 4, which is pretty tame, I think, when you look at the abilities of it. It doesn't have a lot of hit points. However, it's resistant to almost everything non-magical. It's immune to a lot of conditions, and basically it's a ghost. I mean, think about it. What in your imagination could you use to hurt a ghost? You know, it has ethereal sight, so it can see into the ethereal plane or the material plane when it is on the other. So that's kind of cool. It can move through items. However, if it stops its turn in the middle of an item, it takes 1d10 damage, force damage. It's got an ability called Withering Touch. Plus 5 to hit, 4d6 plus 3 damage. 4d6 plus 3. So if you crit, that's 8d6. That's a lot. It can switch from the ethereal plane and the material plane. Horrifying Visage is a wisdom save of 13. If you fail it by 5 or more, so in other words, if it's 13... if it's 13 and you roll an 8, you're going to age 1d4 times 10 years. Frightened target can repeat the saving throw at the end of each turn, blah, 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 blah. And it lasts for 24 hours. The aging effect can be reversed with a greater restoration spell, but only within 24 hours of it occurring. So, if your saving throw is successful at any point, it ends it, and you're immune to that ability. Now, they also have the ability to possess your player characters. This is something I would highly recommend. It's a DC 13 charisma save. So the thing that's cool about this, right? Your up-front fighters, most likely, especially at lower levels, won't be able to hurt it because of non-magical, being immune to non-magical abilities. On top of that, your ghost is going to be able to scare them using their low wisdom save in most cases against them. They can possess them if they have a low charisma score. Think about it. If they possess them, they basically can do... they can't be targeted by any attack spell, blah, blah, blah. So in other words, they're kind of immune there. But they can then attack your friendlies. So, yeah, that's pretty bad. Let's see. The ghost is turned or forced out of an effect with the Dispel Evil and Good spell. The possession ends. The ghost reappears in an unoccupied space. They'll also be in it until the creature's hit points are at 0, so that's another big thing. That's huge. Huge. So if you've got your frontline fighter who's probably doing mega damage by 3rd level, you are now going to be able to possess them. Turn around, knock your cleric out, a couple rounds. Turn around, hit your wizard. They would then target your characters that have shown that they can hurt the ghost. So ghost is very powerful against your OP frontline fighters. It changes the whole idea of how combat should work with their abilities, and it's just cool to use. Now, some creative things you can do, and this kind of touches on it in the lore of it, but, you can kind of foreshadow an encounter, such as a room being cold, even though there's a fire going and the rest of the house is warm, and there really being no reason for this random space in this house to be cold. You can haunt players in their sleep. things like that. It talks about, you can also plan the smell of maybe what the ghost used to smell like, maybe a perfume, or maybe if they were a farmer, there'd be a stench of manure, or something. You can play on the idea of smell. But it says that you can give the ghost a weakness based on what killed it and things like that, and that's pretty interesting. When you think of scary movies and stuff, the reason for a ghost is, like the book states, something traumatic. Why is the ghost still in this house? And usually the ghost is still in the house because it wants the issue resolved. Now, maybe they were murdered by somebody, and then, obviously this is hundreds of years later, so there's no way to get retribution for that. But maybe all the ghost wants is for somebody to understand what happened and for the issue to be solved and case closed and the history books rewritten. So there's a lot of things that you can play on with that. Another thing you can do, again, I've been watching the show, The House on Haunted Hill or whatever. I'm sorry, I'm screwing the name up. Great show again. But that show is kind of interesting, and I don't want to give any spoilers, but using shows like that or others as inspiration, and as a DM, if you like getting creative, do throwback scenes. Like, have a flashback, even though it's not the player's flashback. Give them insight into the ghost's prior life, what it had to deal with. It can be small little cutscenes, but it will, I think, spice up most games, especially if you have a game where your players like your narrative. I think your players will really enjoy small little 3-minute, cutscenes, to what was happening in this house 200 years ago. Cool thing to do. And a great way for you to use ghosts in your games. So yes, ghosts. Overall, there's a lot of creative ways you can use them. You can use all sorts of things for inspiration. Basically, think of the ghost as having an unfinished story. This is my advice. An unfinished story. And don't just use it to be like, hey, I'm going to make a difficult encounter. But give it some meaning. A ghost should always have meaning, in my opinion. There's a reason for ghosts. And I don't think it should just be a traumatic experience. I think it should be a story, a full-on story, other than like, oh, it just died in a terrifying way. And I want you to really explore that. What does that mean? So give your ghost a backstory. Flesh it out. It had a full life. Flesh it out. If it was a child ghost, again, flesh the story out. What were its dreams and aspirations? What did it go through? And then give your players a little peek into it. Maybe they find an old toy or something that was the kids, or a diary, or pictures that the ghost had drew when it was alive, or maybe it draws, pictures now in death on the walls that are temporary. Really explore that and really, really dig deep. And I think by doing this, your players will have a lot better time, especially, given the context of that. So anyways, that's my take on ghosts. I think they're really cool. I have used them. I used a boy ghost in a game before. Players didn't realize it was a ghost till later. But that was a lot of fun to do. I think my players enjoyed it. And so again, that's my take on ghosts. I hope you enjoyed this. Leave me a comment below. Maybe you have a story about how you've used ghosts, or maybe now you have an idea for what you want to do with a ghost in your game. I'd love to hear it below. So leave a comment with that. Be sure to hammer the like button, smash that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time. This was Master of the Game. I am Juce. Game on.